Hello, everybody. This is Lemon Crafton Jr., aka Zorvaltron Less Than Guru, and I have just another short video for today. I know I haven't been on very much on this channel, although, as I mentioned in the past, I am doing weekly Delphi Council debriefing episodes that are about an hour each with two other co-hosts, JM DeFoggy and Mark Malcolm are on most of the episodes. Every once in a while, we'll have a guest host when one of the other hosts can't make it. And we've been talking about everything and anything Torg related. We started just talking about Torg Eternity in general, and then talked about the Infiniverse and Cosms and Cosmverses. And here's Mars Video Cat saying hi. And then we got into just how the invasion for the possibility wars works. And then we've talked about Rorsch specifically, doing two parts for every reality. We talked about Core Earth. And then upcoming, we're going to hit Tharcold. So you heard it first here. The next episode of the Delphi Council debriefings will be part one of Tharcold. A lot of the times, I haven't decided much in advance what we're going to do. I'm just trying to do a good realm and a bad realm. And what mean by that is that there are a lot of realms that are absolutely heroic throughout the core of the genre. Pulp action is heroic. Core Earth, which is based off of action movies like everything from Rambo to Die Hard to Last Action Hero, all of those are action heroic type genres, and those are part of the realities. Realities usually take a couple of genres and smash them together. But then there's other genres that and other realities that are not so nice. There is a Rorsch, which is a gothic horror reality where things don't go well for Storm Knights, because if Storm Knights go in with the mentality of I can do all of these great things that I can normally do in the other realms. Yes, you can be heroic, you can have heroic moments, but you have to take the genre that you're in into account. And Tharcold's another one of those that is a lot of pain, savagery, ferocity, dominance. Those are the themes. The genres are similar to Terminator, or similar to Hellraiser, or similar to Mad Max. And yes, Mad Max can have heroic moments, but look at the world, look how the ordinary people live and things like that. It's just a really dreary, dreadful world. So we're getting into all of those. We'll get through all the realities, then we'll start doing other things like different perks. We get into perks, we get into Cosm cards, we get into axioms, we get into all types of things. So that is where a lot of my time that I would take to record these are going, is for that, since I am now the line developer for Torg Eternity. But I did want to do an update. My what I want to say, my Earth Dawn campaign is on hiatus. The Game Master needed a break. That's fine. I've been doing Torg Eternity, actually. We started off that group when we reformed. I have a lot of home groups that have been playing together in various combinations of people for 3 decades or so now. And sometimes we'll just stop for a while and we reformed. And when we reformed, we started doing it by Torg Eternity. And then I got wrapped up in writing about Torg Eternity, and that's one of those things when you have a lot of writing or other commitments, and then all of a sudden you're writing something, and then you have less time to play that thing. Even though I've been doing the streaming pretty much every Wednesday for Torg Eternity, so it's not like I'm developing the game without playing things. No, I play. It's just I was playing at one time 3 different Torg Eternity campaigns at the same time. So that Torg Eternity became Earth Dawn. You watch this channel and watch anything that I've talked about Earth Dawn, you know that I really, really like Earth Dawn. But the Game Master got a little burnout, which is fine. It happens. So I started doing Torg Eternity again, and I'm still taking my players through the Fires of Ra. The first 2 acts I did with another group, and that's something that I said. You don't always have to do things as they are written. You can always switch things up. And those first 2 acts work quite well together. And I used those, and I put those in the middle of Relics of Power, because at the time Relics of Power was only being released a couple of chapters at a time. So we got to a point where I knew that they needed to be near or in Nile Empire. I ran those 2 acts of Fires of Ra and kind of just moved the other 5 acts to the side. And then now I asked the players of this other group, what would you like to do? And they said Nile Empire, so now I have that done. And since they're all part of the same circle of knights, they're different Storm Knight groups, but they're in the same organization, very much how in official Torg Eternity there's the Delphi Council. You might have various Storm Knight groups in that, but we're doing Fires of Ra. And that's been really fun. And again, playing and reading and doing that is needed as a developer, as well as listening to how other people play and run their games, because then I can find out what works, what doesn't work. And when I'm ironing out rules, which if you've saw the Delphi Council debriefings and watched those, one of the main goals, my current main projects, are ironing out all the wrinkles when you have 7 source books, 7 realm books of source books stacked onto the core rules. When they start adding to each other, you get a lot of wrinkles that pop up. Some rules that seem straightforward when you first read them, but you combine this rule and you put them together, and you take this rule over here and you stack that on. Sometimes they get wonky. So one of my goals is to iron those out and make everything very clear, very concise, make things that are understood when you read them. Yes, always, as a game master, change the rules if there are certain rules that are annoying you. If you don't understand certain things, maybe look into it. But if you still come out of it thinking, I don't like this rule, then change it. But the base rule itself shouldn't need a home rule. It should be at least clear. It might be something that you don't like, you don't agree with, but the base rules should be clear and understandable. So that's what I'm going with. Fires of Ra, the party of, I won't do quite spoilers, but a few things that I learned. Sometimes the dice just roll bad, or a player makes a bad decision, and stacking that on top of the drama deck, which can do a couple of card flips that are bad, you might bring in some stuff from the original Torg. And one thing that I've used recently is I did the Game Master Fiat. In original Torg, the Game Master Fiat was the Game Master could take the first 3 cards of the drama deck, which is the initiative order, and they could change the order of those 3 cards, put it back, and then flip them. And a lot of people might say, oh man, you just like stack it against the players. No, you don't have to. You can stack it to make it so that the story unfolds well. And what had happened was the first card that I flipped over, the villains went and then the heroes went, and one of the heroes dropped a effect that had a blast radius that affected, in a large blast, if you look at the chart in Torg Eternity, says it affects maximum of 5 opponents, and they were fighting 10 opponents. But there's a section under that that specifically says allies are not counted towards that total number. And it even warns you, be careful where you throw grenades. And he did this effect, it was at his feet, and it affected everybody. And the very first round, everybody had a problem, because this was the character who wanted to do this thing and affect as many bad guys as he could. So he went first, and then everybody's affected afterwards. Then on the second card, and they had to, it was the first round, so you don't get cards and stuff like that, so they were without cards. Second round, I flipped the card over, and it was card number 40. And if anybody's been doing Torg Eternity for a while, card number 40 is the worst card of any of the cosms, because even though there's drama decks for each cosm, each reality, the basic things like the DSR numbers and the villains go first or second. That's all the same. The villains are setback, heroes are setback, inspiration, all of that's the same. The only thing that changes is the center text. The original cards don't have center text, and each of the Cosm specific cards, the reality specific cards, have that center text. That center text on this one says roll an obstacle, and it was there in the Nile Empire, roll an obstacle, and that happens, add an obstacle. And there's a nice chart on the Game Master screen that says obstacles, and I rolled, and it was 16. 16 is all heroes disconnect, as well as a setback. And I don't always have it where a setback is just you lose a turn. But I rolled again. I basically rolled 2 obstacles. I had a nice chart in front of me, and that one had it that some smoke or something started obscuring vision, and any ranged attacks would be at a -4. So I figured some smoke or something happened, and it would last that round, but not the other ones. And in that round, that specific round, they were really messed up because they had all disconnected. I almost let the Nile Empire person not, but she had a contrary item. She had an item that was Tech 23, so it did not fit the Nile Empire Tech, which I believe is 20. In original Torg, I believe it's 21. I might have got those things switched because I got a lot of Torg information of various editions and various changes and the rules as they go out. So sorry, I don't want to spend time looking it up. But basically, it had a core Earth item that was higher than her tech. So they all disconnected. And they were in a dominant zone, which is a 14 difficulty number to reconnect. And they couldn't soak during that round. They were using cards. And just, it was really bad. They were going to get hurt really bad. And when I flipped up that next card, the hero or the villains went first and were up. And this wasn't even a dramatic scene. This was a normal standard scene. And it was, I just knew there was probably going to be some defeat tests. And even though one of the players had a card that was like somebody could survive, it was a whole group of 6 players that all their characters were on the line because they were disconnected. They couldn't soak. The villains were going to be up. So I called Game Master Fiat. Almost, I think everybody in that group had participated in long or short sessions of the original Torg when I Game Mastered that off and on over like 25 years. So they're all familiar with the Game Master Fiat and didn't question it. So I moved the cards around. All 3 of the cards were kind of really bad. But I moved them around, and then I basically said, look, you got to figure things out within this round and half of the next round, because the next round the heroes went first, but then the villains were up. That's how it was. And then the next one was the one that I put on the end, which the villains were up again, but first. So I was basically like, you have a round and a half to get your stuff together. And they ended up, most of them, reconnecting, using reconnect cards, using interaction attacks to gain some cards. But by the end of that encounter, they were hurt really bad. They had spent a ton of possibilities, and after they had reconnected, they had spent a lot of their cards to reconnect and mitigate stuff. Plus, they knew that they had to basically win in a short amount of time because I told them that, so they were using most of their cards to get stuff done, to take out those villains. This was a pre-encounter to the main encounter, which was then a dramatic scene. They went to that dramatic scene, they encountered stuff, and within the first round or 2, they had blown through every one of their possibilities and had used most of their cards and were getting cards through approved actions and special abilities and things like that. They did something that was smart for them, but in 99.9% of the time, they used a card, master planned the card, and then used it again that most people, that's one of the first cards that they throw away, which is Maelstrom. Now, what Maelstrom does is when you play that, no possibilities can be spent at all, villains or heroes, until the end of the hero's next turn, not the current turn, the end of the hero's next turn. So, depending on how cards flip up, if the heroes go, and then the heroes go again, and then the villains, at least the heroes can use possibilities to soak. But if the heroes go, and then the villains go, and then the villains go, and the heroes go, then the villains are going to get 2 rounds of attacks in a dramatic scene in which the heroes would not be able to soak, would not be able to boost their action, or do any of the other cool stuff that possibilities can be used for. Now, the party, as I said, were out of possibilities. They had no possibilities at all. They had even used some Cosm cards to gain some possibilities and had used those. And they were up against pretty fresh villains. I think I spent maybe 2 possibilities plus their beta, so that I had Game Master possibilities. I had about 5 or 6 Game Master possibilities left at the time. And they used the Maelstrom to cut the villains off, because if they didn't have possibilities, the villains weren't going to use them. Again, Maelstrom is almost never used because you don't know how bad something can be, and you don't get to add your possibilities, you don't get to soak, things like that. But they used it, and they had a master plan, and they used it again. They kept it, and then they were able to gain some possibilities through, or some hero cards and stuff, and inspiration, or in the Inspire card, they get some possibility. So once they did that, then they were able to win, basically, the encounter. But it just shows, even those so-called bad cards can be used effectively in the right circumstances. So that was really cool to see my group get that card that almost everybody hates, almost everybody throws away at their first chance, and use it very well to keep themselves alive as the group. So that was really cool to see. So that's what's going on with Torg Eternity. I have my Blades in the Dark, which is still going. I just posted that earlier for that campaign, so you can watch that if you're interested in Blades in the Dark. One of the things we're learning as a group is we get so hung up on what we normally do with other games that something that Blades in the Dark apparently is specifically made to combat, we try to get into. And by what I mean by combat, it isn't a combat encounter, but it's Blades in the Dark specifically wants to avoid all the time taken to pre-plan a mission, what they call a score. A lot of games, especially old school games, you really want to plan everything. You want to take into account everything. Try to figure out what the best thing is. Try to figure out what all your cool equipment that you're taking and that you can carry if you're going old school with encumbrance. And you really nitpick all of those things. Blades in the Dark is a completely different system. They don't want you to go through that. They want you to start a score and then use flashbacks, or you can tick off items as you need them, counting towards your loadout, basically your carrying capacity in Blades of the Dark terms, while it's going. So you don't bring your sword. It's just when you need a sword, I brought my sword. Or you don't plan to break into a window on the second floor and use a rope or anything. You say, basically the game master sets it up as you figured out that was the best way, and you're climbing through the window. Now make your roll to see how stealthfully you are. So we were getting really, really, really nitpicky about the prep of the score until I finally just went, hey guys, I think we haven't played it in a couple weeks. We're completely missing the premise of Blades in the Dark. This is something that would be wonderful if we were doing Palladium. Might not have said that, but that's what I was thinking. This would be something really cool if we were doing Palladium First Edition Old School, the every other Sunday game. But for Blades in the Dark, it doesn't fit that. And that's something that I've said here, and I'll say again. Depending on your game system with your three keys, know your players, know the game, and know the setting and the purpose. That will change how you do things and how you have fun. And that's why I really dislike when I hear, oh, that's no fun. That's not a fun way. It's always better when you do that, because it really depends. It depends on your group. It depends on the system. It depends on the setting and or purpose of the game. And Blades in the Dark, one of the purposes is to get rid of all of that, to just get into things and not worry about that. Purpose of an old school game is to get into it. And I can have fun in either system as long as I go into the system knowing what that purpose is. I can change my thought pattern and my attitude a lot better than I thought I was. I went into Blades in the Dark, and I mentioned this before, really skeptical. Really, a lot of this stuff was kind of against what is what I would consider my core nature, especially inventing things on the fly. I believe in character agency normally higher than player agency. I actually see a difference between the two. And Blaze in the Dark puts a lot of player agency on it, things that I wouldn't like in other systems, but I found that I like it because I understand going into the system, into the session, that's how we were going to play it. So Blades in the Dark has been fun, and you can watch those videos on my campaign number 2, Blades in the Dark. Then we have our Wednesday stream, which you can see those on Roll Hit Die. We went through one that Mark Malcolm, a co-host on the Delphi Council debriefings, what he made up, and had a really fun, complicated but fun encounter trying to stop a core ritual in Salem, Massachusetts from taking over an Isle core Earth mix zone and putting a Rorsch dominant zone over the area. So that was really fun that we did. And then the other game, I think those are the 3 games. 1, 2, 3. Yep. So those are my Palladium game. Party is still going through the well of hell. Sometimes when we don't have enough people, we do other things. I will be posting that soon. The latest well of hell. It's very interesting. A lot of the threats, the monsters, are kind of the same-ish when you look at it stat-wise. And the party will completely blow through. They completely blew through a bunch of zombies that were previous characters. So they had shock points equal to the hit points and shock points of previous characters. And they had items that they could use. And if they were a 5th level character, they were 5th level zombie, basically that type of thing. They blew through them really fast. And then they encountered some blood demons that were basically very, very similar, and got walloped to start with. The not tomorrow, but the next Sunday, we'll be redoing that if enough people are able to show up, because that one I pretty much need almost everybody. But it just shows how swingy, how desperate old school games can get, where even if you're a few levels into it, one of the highest level characters, which is 4th level, 4th level after about a year and a half, 2 years going on now, just got out of a coma. In Palladium, if you go negative, you can go negative hit points equal to your PE. So if you have PE of 13, you can go negative 13. Once you go higher than that, you have to roll 2 out of 3 saving throws versus coma death to get out of the coma, or if you're dead, to get out of death. If you're healed right away, you have a chance, or resurrection spell, things like that. And he kept failing and failing and failing, and even though there's a bonus for being healed mystically, he still kept failing, and he finally woke up. So finally that player was able to play his character instead of having to play an NPC. But again, it's a different feel, and it's really cool to go from an old school feel one week into a very different new school feel the other week. One where you have character agency, but not much player agency. Maybe I'll do a video on what I personally see as the difference. And then the other one that has a lot of player agency in it, as well as some character agency. So quickly, I completely agree 100% character agency. Anything my characters should be able to do, I should have them be able to do that in the game. That character should be able to do. The character is the only thing a player has in an old school game. So that agency of having their character do something should not be forced them to do something else. Unless you agree with your party in your session zero group, etc., that you'll allow things like mind control and stuff. But if you don't have a specific reason, I, as a player, should determine what my character's action can do. You, as a game master, can give me a difficulty number or keep it hidden. Just say, okay, you have a chance. Okay, roll or not roll. But me having my character at least attempt it should be something that's not taking away from me, not being taken away from a character. Player agency is a little bit different. That's when you start having players do meta stuff outside of the actual in character game world. So I'll put it pretty much leave that as that. Maybe I will have that as another topic soon. So I did want to just do an update. These are the 3 games or the four games or whatever that I'm doing because wasn't. I guess I was talking about Earth Dawn. So yes, these are 4 games that I'm currently in. 2 Torg, Blades in the Dark, Palladium homebrewed, super homebrewed Palladium, and yeah. So once again, check me and Mark Malcolm and JM DeFoggy on the Torg Delphi Council debriefings on the Ulysses International YouTube site, as well as its podcast. So you can go to Audible or iTunes, Spotify, etc. Find us there, Torg Eternity, Delphi Council debriefings, and listen to us there. It is 3 of us talking about Torg, so you don't necessarily need videos. At least I've been trying not to have us show things because I want it as a good experience for listeners as well as viewers. And I will continue to post all of our sessions for both of the campaigns that I am doing online. The Torg Eternity campaign that I do on Friday, the one that I'm doing, the Fires of Ra, I actually do in person. That one I drive 2 hours to game and then drive 2 hours back to home because those 4 hours are easier on me to do than trying to find 4 other hours of the week where I am able to put information into a VTT because of my new commitments in Torg Eternity. So it is kind of funny that it's easier for me to drive back in round trip 4 hours to do a Torg Eternity game rather than it'd probably take more to set up the same thing within a virtual tabletop. But I do like virtual tabletops. I use that for Palladium. I use that. Luckily, I planned a lot of stuff out ahead of time in Palladium. And then we use it for the Wednesday and the other Sunday groups because I'm not the game master. I just show up. So I've kept you long enough. This is what I've been doing. So thank you very much for watching. As of now, and this probably decrease or increase because it usually shuffles up, I got 72 subscribers. So it was a big flip back and forth 69, 70, 69, 70, 69, 70, 69, 70, 71, 69, 70, and between then, this is the highest number I've had. So thank you for joining. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, let me know. Watch how a bad non-professional group of friends who don't really get serious about the game can play. You don't have to be critical role. That's why I post my campaigns. And thank you. And I will continue to have videos here, as well as the Delphi Council debriefings on the Ulysses Spiel channel, as well as my Wednesday streams where I'm mainly a player on Roll Hit Die here on YouTube, and every Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern on Roll Hit Die on Twitch. So having said that, once again, I am Lehman Crafton Jr., aka Zoraltron Less Than Guru, and until next time, I will catch you later.